Thank you all for joining us. I know we have a very fulsome group of press interested in this celebration, this very good news that we have. It's terrific news announced by the President of the United States for $3.07 billion for high-speed rail in California. This massive federal investment takes us one step closer to high-speed rail as a reality. I just want to give a little provenance for it. I'm so glad that Governor Brown is with us today because he started so much of this, and his cap and trade legislation and initiative to pay for the California share has made everything we're doing now possible. Thank you, Governor Brown. I'll look forward to your comments. I take credit in the House of Representatives for so much of what we have had. Under President Obama, we were able to get $2.5 billion in the legislation there, the ARA legislation. And it is again, we saved that. We got $1 billion more in appropriations, and now this in the bipartisan bill. I understand that we're joined by Mitch Landrieu. Mitch has been masterful in orchestrating so much of what brings us here today. Thank you very much, Mitch Landrieu. I thank you to the President for his leadership in high-speed rail and his recognition of what's happening in California. Mitch Landrieu, President's advisor. Well, I guess on Air Force One, it comes and goes. So I'll just go back to the House of Representatives and say how proud we are of the work we did, ARA and then infrastructure bill. Jim Costa has been such a champion on that, relentless, persistent. And as the Governor Newsom used to say to me, you and Jim seem to be the two people who are pushing this thing again and again. But I'm very, very proud of the work that was done for us to, in our state, for us to be able to attract the support that we have received federally. In the interest of accommodating Mitch, I'm going to now not finish my remarks, but yield to my distinguished colleague, who I'm proud to serve with in the House of Representatives, Representative Jim Costa.
Well, thank you very much, Speaker Metris Nancy Pelosi. You have been the constant source of enthusiasm, but more importantly, keeping people's attention focused to the critical importance that high-speed rail has in California, but we are really at the cutting edge. Once again, California is leading the way. And without your efforts, frankly, we would not have received the $3.07 billion. That's just the bottom line. But it's a team effort. And we thank, obviously, the President of the United States. He likes to tell me I'm Amtrak Joe. And I said, thank you, Mr. President. That's great. But we need to have the money to build this high-speed network throughout the country. And you've come through with Mitch Landrieu's assistance. But I would be remiss if I didn't include the support for Governor Brown and Governor Newsom, who have been constants in this partnership that we have pursued that really has made the difference. Nancy and I are a team, and without that effort, obviously we wouldn't be making this announcement here. But Doug McCarron and so many other partners of this team are critical. Let me tell you what it means to the San Joaquin Valley, California, you know, the state where dreams come true. This is a game changer because this allows us not only to bring state-of-the-art high-speed rail, trains going 220 miles an hour that are fair comparison to what they've done in Europe and in Asia, but it connects the San Joaquin Valley to the powerhouse of the economic centers of the Bay Area, San Francisco, Nancy's beloved city, as well as Los Angeles. And it really, too often, the San Joaquin Valley has been kind of the stepchild in California. But in this instance, we are being connected with the key economic centers. Over 12,000 jobs have been created as a result of the expenditure with this initial effort of legislation that I carried back in 2001 and the voters passed, providing $9.8 billion to initiate this effort. As Speaker Metris Pelosi said, we were able to get subsequent funding from the Obama administration and this constant effort that she has been engaged in. And you can't find a better partner anywhere in the House of Representatives than to work with Nancy Pelosi, because she is absolutely the key part of this effort. But Governor Brown, you've never lost sight of the vision, and Governor Newsom has continued it, but to extend where the state has provided now 85% of the funding for this effort. In Europe and in Asia, the federal governments have provided 85% of the funding. If we're going to build a nationwide network, we need to get the nation involved, and this is a first step. Thank you so very much. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Jim. You mentioned Governor Brown, and we could never talk about this without talking about how he started all of this. I'm thinking back to when he was first elected governor, and the environment was such an important part of his agenda. And now in the time when the threat to our planet is so real, to be a visionary with all of this, because this high-speed rail means so much. But let him tell his story. We're honored by your presence, Governor. We're blessed by your vision, and thank you for being with us.
I think you need to unmute, Governor. You need to unmute. There you go.
I was unmuted.
There you go. You're good now.
All right. So there it is. Look, I'm really glad to be here. This is a project a long time in coming, decades. I first started talking about this way back in the early 80s. And all through those decades, we have to keep pushing it. Schwarzenegger came along and got the bond issue with Jim Costa authoring it in the legislature. So it's been a group effort. But the big deal here is we all know that we got to get off fossil fuels, reduce them dramatically. This is an electrified train system that in California will derive most of the electricity from renewable sources. Eventually, it'll all be renewable. Right now, we've had a few days where it has been 100% renewable energy in the electrical grid of California. So this makes sense from comfort, from new technology, linking the one part of the state with the other, and quite frankly, catching up with the rest of the world. We hear that we're going to compete with China. Well, China has 20,000 miles of high-speed rail. So we got to get going. And the real challenge here is invest in America, invest with the American people. That's exactly what this does. And no one will regret it. We got to get it going. It's going to take a while. I'm telling you, I'm getting old, but I'm not dying until I jump on the first train that moves out of Merced, California. That's my commitment, and we're going to make it happen.
Terrific. Nancy, you're muted.
Everybody gets muted. They mute you.
Governor, I know that you know the important role that Doug McCarron has played in all of this.
No.
Relentless, persistent, just satisfied. I see Brian shaking his head. You know that. I hardly ever introduce him without calling him a hero in so many of the causes that we're involved in. And this is just makes, again, our hopes are riding on high-speed rail, and Doug McCarron is making that possible for us. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for your leadership, Mr. President of the Carpenters Union, Doug McCarron.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Hey, I just have a big thank you for everybody on the screen, and especially the administration, President Biden. I mean, and Jerry, I look at you and I can remember that vision of a high-speed rail. And, you know, you were my leader, and I said, hey, man, if it makes sense to Jerry Brown, I'm in. And, you know, I tell you, you pulled it off, man. And I really, really want to thank you for your vision, your hard work. And then Speaker Pelosi, I can't say enough about you. And I'm reminded all the time about you telling me, hey, we got to focus. We need this money for California. And you were great. You really came through, Speaker Emeritus Pelosi. I really want to thank you. And Jim, your desire for jobs in the Central Valley has been really, really great. And that's where I come into, and the rest of the building trades, the middle-class jobs that this train is supplying is just great. And the resources it's going to bring, not only to the Central Valley, but the whole state of California, is just gonna be great. So jobs. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. President of the Carpenters Union. And thank you for what you're doing to involve many more women and people of color and the rest in building these magnificent infrastructures. I don't know if Mitch is available yet, but I will take my turn here then and just praise Governor Gavin Newsom for the work that he has done. We're talking about how this began, the provenance of it. I take great credit for what the House of Representatives did in terms of making this a priority in our budgets and in our authorization bills, and fighting the previous presidential administration that tried to take away our authorization to get this done. So we have not had friends on the other side of the aisle with this in the White House or even in our state delegation. But now, again, vote no, take the dough. People will show up for our groundbreakings and our ribbon cuttings and the rest. But the point is this, and Jerry Brown taught this all to us decades ago. When we have this mass transit and this now high-speed rail taking us to another place, this is about saving the planet. And that is a health issue, clean air. It's a jobs issue, good, clean, green jobs. It's a jobs issue. It's a security issue to save the planet because we are therefore not having competition for resources, food, habitat, and the rest. So it's saving the planet, but it's also keeping the peace. And it's a values issue. If you believe that I do, and I know Jerry does, that this is God's creation and we have a moral obligation to be good stewards. But even if you don't share that view, you know we have an obligation to future generations. So Governor Brown, thank you. And I thank Gavin because even when he was mayor of San Francisco, he had scores of mayors coming from all over the world to talk about the climate issue. He has been a leader in this fight for this funding. Just read his letter about it. It has such clarity. So we thank Governor Newsom as well. And I want to thank Pete Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transportation, who recognizes the importance of high-speed rail in every way, to transportation, to environment, to health, in every way, and to our competitiveness globally. Having traveled, seen, as we all have, what is happening in other countries, but recognizing that we have to be on the forefront as well. And everyone in our country is not attuned to that. We hope that by example, California will show them the way. I don't know if Mitch is back with us yet, but he has really been just our dear friend in all, let's say dear. By that, I mean effective, a friend in all of this. He has known the contribution of the governors, of the state legislature, I'm just getting a message about me, of the state legislators, about the taxpayers in California, the contribution our state has made to this, to be a worthy recipient of these dollars, a model to the nation. So thank you, Mitch Landrieu. And as far as our president is concerned, he has been our friend throughout. He actually, Jerry, was the first senator to introduce a resolution to address the climate crisis in 1986, even before I was in Congress. So our president understands why we have to do this. He knows what we need to do, and he's helping with that today. He knows how to get this job done by example to the rest of the country. And again, we're so grateful to him for his leadership and for his recognition that when it comes to high-speed rail, clean air, quality of life, our hopes are riding on California. Is Mitch there? Mitch is on now. With that, I was just singing the praises of the president,
Hello.
Mitch. So I'm pleased to
Hello.
yield.
You're on, Mitch.
Hello, am I on now?
Yep.
Yes.
Speaker Emerita. Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Perfectly.
Hello?
Yeah, you're there. We hear
Good. This is Mitch Landrieu. I'm so sorry. I'm calling from Air Force One. The president sends his regard to you all. And thank you all so much. Speaker Emerita, thank you for your extraordinary leadership and to Governor Brown, I know, who's been working on this forever, and Congressman Costa and Doug McCarron, and of course the Governor Newsom. To begin with, I know that a lot has been said, but I would like to, on behalf of the president, just start with the big picture. You know, the president's often said that when you invest in America, when we invest in ourselves, when we invest in infrastructure, literally when we do it together and don't leave anybody behind, there's nothing that we can't do. And so through the Investing in America agenda, which has been led by many people on this call, it's been really incredible. And today's announcement, as you know, has been a long time coming. But today, nationwide, $8.2 billion in new funding for 10 major passenger rail projects across the country, including the first-class high-speed rail projects that we're talking about in California and then, of course, in Nevada. So I just want to, on behalf of the president, thank Speaker Emerita Pelosi for her incredible work. Overall, the nation's now investing $66 billion under the bipartisan infrastructure law into the rail system that we're talking about today. And it is spoken about. It's going to create lots of jobs, high-paying union jobs. It's going to clean up the air. It's going to move people faster. It's going to improve people's lives. And as you know, folks said earlier, it's about jobs, jobs, and jobs. And specifically in California, the $3 billion investment is going to really kind of supercharge this 171-mile-long project that's part of a larger effort to eventually move from San Francisco all the way down to Los Angeles. 1,000 good-paying union permanent jobs, 35,000 jobs in the infrastructure portion of this thing. And, of course, there's also an announcement in Nevada today that's as equally as important. But none of this would be possible without the folks on the call today. And so on behalf of the president, let me just thank all of you. This is a great day, not only for California and Nevada, but for all of the other rail projects across the country as well. So, Speaker Emerita, thank you so much. I'm sorry I had a little bit of difficult time getting on. But again, thank you for all of your incredible work, and thanks for allowing us to join you on this call.
Thank you very much, Mitch. We owe a great deal to you for your good offices in making this happen. Please give our gratitude and congratulations to the president for this announcement today. And if Secretary Buttigieg is with you, give him our regards as well. Well, perhaps I'll see the president later.
I will. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mitch. Well, you know that just briefly in a sentence, this is going to be, okay, with this federal funding, we will charge forward with construction of two-track electrified high-speed passenger rail line that connects Merced, Fresno, and Bakersfield. With us is Brian. Brian Kelly has been just such a highly regarded intellectual and operational resource in all of this, and he stands ready to answer any further questions about the what and the where and the how of all of that. Aaron, are we ready to now we'll open the floor to on-topic questions. If you have a question, click the raise hand button on your screen. When you're called on, please tell us your name and media outlet. Then there are like 60 outlets on the call.
Blanca, you're acknowledged to speak.
Oh, great. Thank you. Hi, I'm Blanca Beguert. I'm with Politico. I do the California Climate Newsletter. So thank you all so much. Obviously, it was a big push to get this new funding. So I'd like to ask, how hard was it to persuade the Department of Transportation to award this grant to California's high-speed rail? You know, did you have to assuage any of their concerns about the project or California's ability to complete it? And what would you say to Republican representatives within California and outside the state who don't want any more money going to this?
Jim Costa, would you like to start with that?
Surely. Big things are hard to do. I submit that if Tip O'Neill had not been speaker during the big dig, it may have never been completed. And we have a whole history of that. California is leading the way. And some of the Republicans who have opposed this project in California initially actually supported it. I told my colleague, Kevin McCarthy, I said, you know, you were for this before you were against it because you voted and supported it when you were in the state legislature. Then was then, I guess now is now. But, you know, the fact is that we had strong bipartisan support when we passed this measure in 2001 in the legislature. And big things don't happen unless you're willing to put the money out there and make the investments. And I think that as we see these jobs being created, I think we'll see that renewed sense of bipartisanship because it engenders economic growth in other areas. We think $16 billion in additional benefits have already happened for other businesses with the construction that has taken place that has created 12,000 jobs. Think about that. 12,000 good union paying jobs that are created as a result of this initial investment. You do the multiple factor of that when you connect San Francisco to Los Angeles, and you've got a jobs generator that really puts California in the 21st century competing with the rest of the world, which is where we are and should be.
I might just also add that any success of a major project like this is about outside mobilization as well as inside maneuvering. We made this a priority that was not going away. I made that really clear to multiple administrations. And in our ARA, the American Reinvestment and Recovery and Reinvestment Act, we had $2.5 billion under Barack Obama, but we had to make our case. And again, I defer to Doug McCarron because our friends in the labor movement were so helpful to us in saying we need these jobs, and not only the jobs to build it, but the jobs to run it, and the jobs and the housing and all the other things that will spring from it. So it's about making sure they understand we're not going away. This is going to happen. So, and that we have a model for the nation, something that is an example that we have to have high-speed rail. We know how to do it. We'll get it done. And it was persistence, maneuvering, outside mobilization, and good example that California is. And with gratitude to the state legislature, as has been mentioned, the California taxpayer, leadership of Governor Brown to get this all started to begin with, and now Governor Newsom to continue this.
Look, can I say something here? This is happening for three reasons. Nancy Pelosi knows how to push things. Two, Doug McCarron's got a lot of muscle with his labor friends. And third, Biden likes trains, and he believes in infrastructure, and he believes that you compete with other nations by building up America. That's exactly what's happening. Yeah, they know there's problems with this. We're going to spend billions more. That's what it takes. You want to be number one in the world? You got to spend big bucks. It doesn't all go to the top 1% that put in their bank accounts here. It's got to go through the public sector for the common benefits that high-speed rail definitely, in its very essence, expresses so well.
And your vision, Governor Brown, and putting the state's effort beyond the bond capacity with the cap and trade was a key factor. And Governor Newsom, with this effort, with the feds now becoming real partners, I think we need to look upon extending that cap and trade at the state level, because we have an entire network and system to build on. And ultimately, we're going to have to find a source of revenue at the federal level, as we have for the highway fund, to ensure that high-speed rail networks around the country can be built.
Next question.
Yes, this is really an investment in America, and especially California. You go back, we put money and resources in our ports, and we're the gateway for Asia coming into the United States. The other thing, Jerry's vision. I mean, when you look at the investment in the future of California, high-speed rail, we've got to be in front of the situation. I mean, it would be great if we could today get on a train from Los Angeles and go to San Francisco. It's going to be a reality very soon. And I'd just like to also point out that I believe now California is the fourth largest economy in the world if it was a nation. So I want everybody to think about that. And we've got to invest in California. As I said, we're the gateway of Asia coming into the United States. And this is going to be a very well-used resource in California.
Thank you. Thank you, Doug. Any other questions?
Yes. Hi, Madam Speaker. This is Alex Michelson from Fox 11 Los Angeles and the statewide political show The Issue Is. First off, what an honor to have all of you on one Zoom call at one time. This is like the most institutional knowledge ever on a Zoom call. So it's great to talk to you all at once. You know, there's going to be skeptics that are concerned about accountability when you have this much money. So how do you make sure that this project comes in on time and at budget or under budget? What are the steps being used to make sure that this thing gets done like it's said to be done?
Brian, do you want to address that? Of course, with everything that we do, we have transparency, we have accountability, and we have oversight from the Congress of the United States for this funding. So thank you for your question, and we are accountable. Brian, did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I would just add to that, you know, 2023 was a record year for this project in terms of the numbers of structures we opened, the number of employees that are now working out, the men and women building the project, 1,600 employees a day, 12,200 since we started construction. And oversight is something we welcome here at the authority. In fact, just last year, the legislature brought into play here an inspector general over this project. And we welcome that inspector general. We're very transparent. We report to the legislature and the public every year on exactly where we are and where we're going. And we haven't been silent or quiet about the fact that the project got off to a tough start, but we think we've taken all the right steps to turn the management around, move forward. And the reason we're performing better is because we made important steps to manage risk, govern the project, and be very transparent about what we're doing. And so, again, there's plenty of oversight built in between the legislature, the state auditor, and now an inspector general here on the project. And so we welcome it, and we're pleased with where we're going.
I want to just add a thought here. Look, build anything in the United States of America is darn difficult. It just is. We got so many rules and regulations and interests that we got to satisfy, but we got to build. America is not going to be a leading factor in the world if we can't build stuff. Yeah, this is going to cost some money. You can't predict it exactly. This is the big stuff. And there are a lot of carpers and complainers and Lilliputian minds that try to stop us. But inherent in a big project like this are difficulties and plenty of critics. But the fact that the president, with all his experts, have felt it appropriate to put up billions of dollars, that's a big vote of confidence. And I'm confident, yes, we'll have our problems. We're not finished with them. There'll be plenty more. But this is a question of, can America make it or not? And I say we can, and this project is going to speed us on our way.
And Governor, you're correct. I mean, big things are hard to do, as we know from previous experiences. There were thousands of lawsuits when there was an attempt to build a bridge. Now we called the Golden Gate, and we wouldn't know what to do without it. But we've had lawsuits in this project. We've learned from that process in terms of land acquisition. And some people, let's be frank, they simply wanted to kill the project. And so those factored into some of the delays we had to deal with. But we've learned from those experiences, and we're working through them. So, you know, once again, California leading the way, but big things, as we all know, are hard to do.
If I just may add this, when I've been appropriator for a long time, and that's where I've tried to exert some of my, say, pressure in the Congress. But over time, when we've had these projects and we allocate resources, we want dirt to fly. We don't want to put aside money for a project that's going to be in the courts for the next decade. We want to know that the work has been done to take us to a place where the money will be spent, dirt will fly, the project will come up. And in our state, we have to make choices. 40 million people, fourth largest economy in the world, and we have infrastructure challenges. We can hardly build any more runways at San Francisco Airport. So if people want to go to LA, we need other options. And we do know that we want to have transportation, whether it's air or ground or whatever it is. But we don't want to continue to build highways to pollute the air. We want to build high-speed rail to improve the quality of life time-wise, but also airwise. So again, oversight, transparency, accountability, that's part of what we're pitching here.
And with climate change in the 21st century, a multimodal transportation system is absolutely essential to be a key economic leader. And that's what we're creating, a multimodal transportation system with this high-speed rail effort.
Another question? I think we have time for one more.
Hi all, Samia Kamal from Cal Matters here. Thank you for taking questions. So one of the challenges that the project has faced, the timeline, and one of the reasons we've heard for why it's taken so long is the project was underfunded from the start. Are there any specifics you can provide about how this round of funding impacts the timeline for the project? Does it speed up any given deadlines or completion goal timelines?
Brian, I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, thank you. Candidly, it keeps us on schedule. This investment allows us to move forward with purchasing electrified high-speed trains built in America. It allows us to move forward with the construction of the Fresno downtown station that will be a bridge between two neighborhoods that forever have been separated in Fresno. We'll be linking them together with that bridge, and we will move forward on construction extended beyond the 119 to extend into Merced and into Bakersfield for that 171-mile stretch. So look, we have plenty of more work to do, but this investment has concrete benefits that will keep us on schedule to open that initial operating line. It could not be done without this investment. It's huge.
Concrete. And the reputation of Brian Kelly is very important in all of this. Thank you, Brian. Another question? One more.
Hi, can you hear me, everyone?
Yes.
This is Tiffany Olin. I'm with ABC 30 in Fresno. So I do see the construction every day. Where does the construction stand right now? And what is the timeline for it to be done? And specifically from Merced to Bakersfield and then extended to San Francisco and LA?
Yeah, as we put out in our project update report last year, we're going to be operational between 2030 and 2032 for the whole 171-mile stretch between Merced and Bakersfield. We are completing the first construction segment in the valley at the beginning of the year, which we call CP4, which is 22 and a half miles. We just entered procurement to start laying down the track and the systems for this project. And we are with this investment, and as we continue to work closely with the legislature, the objective and the run, and now really I think the reality is that all of this will be completed, will be an initial operating segments in that 2030, 2031 window roughly. But that is, this investment enables us to do that. And the big thing is, and I gotta say, the initial investment for 119 miles, one of the things we said when Gavin Newsom took over was, we gotta get more to get a really good, strong operational run connecting the cities. And this investment from the federal government endorses that idea. And it's just such a beneficial thing for us to ensure we can get this done on that schedule. Can't do it without this money.
We thank Brian's effort on that. And if you want to have a separate interview on this, certainly Tom Richards, who chairs the High Speed Rail Authority, is here in Fresno. We'd be happy to make ourselves available. The grade corridor separation just in Fresno alone here is critical for the environment. You've got 20, 30 trains a day, and the traffic stopped at that. The grade corridor separation is not only good for the environment, but for public safety as well. And Fresno is really being a great example of how we can do this in other cities throughout California.
I think we have one more question from KQED in San Francisco.
Hi, Dan Brecky from KQED. And this is a question about the timeline. Governor Brown mentioned that China has over 20,000 miles of high-speed rail completed. This is a great development, but still we're talking about 171 miles in the Central Valley, which is fewer than 1% of the China total. And let's not even mention Japan or France or other countries with high-speed rail. I'm an enthusiast, and I'm with Governor Brown. I would really love to ride on the train and I feel like time might be running short. So what prospect is there, here's the question, for speeding things up? I mean, are we really locked into a situation where this beautiful vision of a San Francisco to Los Angeles train is 15 or 20 years out?
Well, time will go by. We know that for sure. And we want to use it very well. And I was in China. They took me and showed me their stations. They were building stations all over the country. Governor, you've seen that. And they took me from Beijing to Tianjin, which is on the coast. It would be the equivalent of going from San Francisco to Fresno. We took the ride. The conductor came and said, here we are, 29 and a half minutes. You can commute to work. Just think of the difference it makes economically, personally, and in every way. You can commute from Tianjin to Beijing or vice versa. It just makes all the difference in the world. And to your question, the best thing to speed it up is to get started further. As Brian said in his opening, we're here, we're getting it done. And Secretary Buttigieg always says the best argument for high-speed rail is high-speed rail. Let's just get the job done. And we're optimistic about that. My colleagues, we're coming to an end now. If each of you would like to make a 1-minute closing statement. Shall we begin with Governor Brown?
Yeah, look, I'd like to speed it up. And physically we could, but we don't have the political will yet. But this investment today will speed it along. We're making progress. It's not what we need to fulfill the destiny of America as leading in the world. We must be able to build things much faster. So I think we may have a year here and a year there, but eventually I think it's highly possible that America can get its mojo back to build big stuff. Not here yet, but this is a good step. And I think with any kind of luck, we'll get there. It may take another administration or two to get there, but we've got to build because we're slipping back. The world is changing. Things are growing all over the place. We're going to have to do more. And I think that will dawn on many of the critics in Washington. And I think the Republican Party may go through its own trauma, but they're not going to stay in the dark ages forever. So I think there's potential down the road for a much more accelerated project.
Doug McCarron, Mr. President?
Yeah, sure. I think this is great forward progress that we're making here. And the public in California is going to see that. And to your point, Nancy, of China, 29 minutes from Beijing to the other city there. Same thing in San Francisco. I mean, people that are living in Fresno could be working in Silicon Valley or downtown San Francisco. The bookends are really going to be able to sell this, I believe. From Burbank to Palmdale, the Antelope Valley, there's at least 12 San Fernando valleys from Palmdale to Edwards Air Force Base. It'd be amazing. And just to point out, the median price of a 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch home in Lancaster is $440,000 compared to $1 million in Los Angeles. And that's a wealth builder for families if they can get in that first house. And what a way to do it with a high-speed train right into Burbank in 45 minutes. It would be a big game changer for a lot of my members and a lot of middle-class people, both in San Francisco and the coast and Los Angeles. So I think I think the public's going to see that and come forward to get it done.
Thank you, Doug. You've been a real champion in advocating for affordable housing for workers to be having access to the workplace with mass transit and high-speed rail. Jim Costa?
Thank you very much, Speaker Metris. With the political will, as Governor Brown said, anything is possible. And the incremental funding is how you speed this up. Speaker Pelosi, with her leadership on the Trans-Bay Terminal, is now making that become a reality. Together, we are working with our other Bay Area legislators to make the necessary improvements on the Peninsula corridor to allow for electrification and for allow for grade quarter separation as those trains come down the peninsula to San Jose and ultimately to Gilroy. We want to make, and we're already beginning the environmental documents to turn there between Merced and Fresno at Chowchilla to go toward 152 and over the Pacheco Pass that will allow us to connect to San Francisco. But as I've told Mitch Landrieu, and Secretary Pete, as Nancy has indicated, has been a full-on supporter, but he knows to build this intercity high-speed rail network around the country that we need a federal source of funding for this purpose over the long term. And I will be so bold to say is that one of the reasons I believe the Speaker Emerita is running for re-election, and yours truly here as well, is we want to make that happen with a second term of a Biden administration that has the vision and the boldness to move forward, along with a Democratic-controlled legislature that will be able to put that federal source of funding together so that we not only complete California's high-speed rail dreams and visions, but we will lead as an example for a network across the country. That's what it's going to take, is to have that federal partner on the long term, just as we have under the federal highway system.
Thank you. Thank you, Congressman Landrieu. Okay, Costa, and thank you for your leadership. Brian, do you have some words of wisdom to leave us with?
I mean, look, for us at the authority, three words come to mind, humility, excitement, and confidence. We're humbled by the expression of confidence in what we're doing. We think we've come a long way, and we're excited to get to work and get this done, and we're confident we're going to do it right. So to all of you, a big thank you. I
would add one word with that: respect. Respect for you, Brian. Thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you all for being with us. I will say that over the years, as we have, as an appropriator, and Jim and I as authorizers of legislation, we have been trained to think regionally, not just what's a project for my city, let's think regionally. Governor has taught us to think globally and in a green way as we go forward. We have to think personally about what it means in people's lives and the rest. But the regional and the federal piece, the local and the federal, are so important. And one of the cases that I made to the administration was, how can we go to our state legislature and ask for more, or our taxpayers and ask for more in California, if we're not getting our fair share at the federal level? Well, we've taken a giant step now. We thank President Biden for his, again, vision and his, again, recognizing that we're getting the job done here in California. More to come on all of this. Thank you all for being with us today. Governor, we're so honored by your presence, and to all of our participants, thank you so much for your leadership and your presence.